Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saghanaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishkam Vitam Sya Om Jnanatimarandasya Gyanajana Shalakaya Chakshuram Milidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gorva Bhistam Supurakam Gurganarasisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Vedanipanam Shirupa Patanugam Govindabhidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavad Prem Noe Bijapranam Devam Divyatanum Suchandabaranam Balarka Chelan Sandrananda Puram Sadekavaranam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhi Musubhakti Lasitam Sarasatanam Baram Banditam Shubhanam Madeka Sharanam Nyashishwara Sridharam Vansha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami with translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. This is chapter 12 of the Adi-lila, the expansions of Adwaita Acharya and Gadadhar Pandit. Adwaita Tangri Abja Bringam Stan Sarasara Brito Kilan Hitva Saran Sarabrito Nomi Chaitanya Jivanan Advaitangri Abja Bringam Stan Sarasara Brito Kilan Hidva Saran Sarabrito Nomi Chaitanya Jivanam. The followers of Sri Adwaita Prabhu were of two kinds. Some were real followers and the others were false. Rejecting the false followers, I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Adwaita Acharya's real followers, whose life and soul was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jaya Jaya Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Jaya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Adwaita Danya. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Sri Adwaita Prabhu. All of them are glorious. Sri Chaitanya Marataror Dvitiya Skanda Rupina Srimad Adwaita Chandrasya Shaka Rupan Gananumaha. I offer my respectful obeisances to the all-glorious Adwaita Prabhu, who forms the second branch of the eternal Chaitanya tree, and to his followers, who form his sub-branches. Brikera Dvitiya Skanda Acharya Gosai Tarajata Shaka Hoila Taralekanai. Sri Adwaita Prabhu was the second big branch of the tree. There are many sub-branches, but it is impossible to mention them all. Chaitanya Malera Kripa Jalara Shekane Se Jale Pushtaskanda Bore Dine Dine. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also the gardener, and as he poured the water of his mercy on the tree, all the branches and sub-branches grew day after day. Se skande jata prema phala upajila, se Krishna prema phale jagat barila. The fruits of love of Godhead that grew on those branches of the Chaitanya tree were so large that they flooded the entire world with love of Krishna. Se jalaskande kori Shakate Sanechar Fale Fale Bari Sako hoila bistar. As the trunk and branches were watered, the branches and sub-branches spread lavishly, and the tree grew full with fruits and flowers. Pratameta eka mata acharya pache dui mata hoila daivera karan. At first, all the followers of Adwaita Acharya shared a single opinion, but later they formed two different opinions as ordained by providence. The words Daivera Karana indicate that by dint of providence or by God's will, the followers of Adwaita Acharya divided into two parties. Such disagreements among the disciples of one Acharya is also found among the members of the Gaudiya Math. In the beginning, during the presence of Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa Paravajakacharya, Ashtatara Sadashi Shimad, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, all the disciples worked in agreement, but just after his disappearance, they disagreed. One party strictly followed the instructions of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but another group created their own concoction about executing his desires. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, at the time of his departure, requested all his disciples to form a governing body and conduct missionary activities cooperatively. He did not instruct a particular man to become the next Acharya, but just after his passing away, his leading secretaries made plans without authority to occupy the post of Acharya, and they split into two factions over who the next Acharya would be. Consequently, both factions were asara, or useless, because they had no authority, having disobeyed the order of the spiritual master. Despite the spiritual master's order to form a governing body and execute the missionary activities of the Gaudiya Math, the two unauthorized factions begin litigation that is still going on after 40 years with no decision. Therefore, we do not belong to any faction, but because the two parties busy dividing the material assets of the Gaudiya Math institution stopped the preaching work, we took up the mission of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhaktivedanta Thakur to preach the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world under the protection of all the predecessor acharyas, and we find that our humble attempt has been successful. We followed the principles especially explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, verse beginning Vyavasayatmika Buddhir Ekeha Kurunandana. According to the instructions of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, it is the duty of a disciple to follow strictly the orders of his spiritual master. The secret of success and advancement in spiritual life is the firm faith of the disciple in the orders of his spiritual master. The Vedas confirm this. Yasya Devi para bhaktir yata deve tata goro tasyaite katita yarta prakashante mahatmanaha. To one who has staunch faith in the words of his spiritual master and the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the secret of success in Vedic knowledge is revealed. The Krishna consciousness movement is being propagated according to this principle, and therefore our preaching work is going on successfully, in spite of the many impediments offered by antagonistic demons, because we are getting positive help from our previous acharyas. One must judge every action by its result. The members of the self-appointed Acharya's party who occupy the property of the Gaudiya Math are satisfied, but they could make no progress in preaching. Therefore, by the result of their actions, one should know that they are asara, or useless, whereas the success of the ISKCON party, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which strictly follows Guru and Gaurangas increasing daily all over the world. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to print as many books as possible and to distribute them all over the world. We have tried our best in this connection, and we're getting results beyond our expectations. Kehota Acharya Gyaya Kehota Swatantra Swamata kalpana kore daiva paratantra. Some of the disciples strictly accepted the orders of the Acharya, and others deviated, independently concocting their own opinions under the spell of Daivi Maya. This verse describes the beginning of a schism. When disciples do not stick to the principle of accepting the order of their spiritual master, immediately there are two opinions. Any opinion different from the opinion of the spiritual master is useless. One cannot infiltrate materially concocted ideas into spiritual advancement. That is deviation. There is no scope for adjusting spiritual advancement to material ideas. Acharya mataje se matasar tar agya lagi chale se ta asar. The order of the spiritual master is the active principle in spiritual life. Anyone who disobeys the order of the spiritual master immediately becomes useless. Asarera name ihan nahi prayojan beda janibari kori ekatra ganan. There is no need to name those who are useless. I have mentioned them only to distinguish them from the useful devotees. Danyarasi mape jaiche patna sahite paschate patna udaya samskara korite. Paddy is mixed with straw at first, and one must fan it to separate the paddy from the straw. Achyutanan. This paddy is mixed with straw at first, and one must fan it to separate the paddy from the straw. This analogy given by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is very appropriate. In the case of the Gaudiya Math members, one can apply a similar process. There are many disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but the judge who is actually his disciple to divide the useful from the useless. One must measure the activities of such disciples in executing the will of the spiritual master. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur tried his best to spread the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to countries outside India. When he was present, he patronized the disciples to go outside India to preach the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But they were unsuccessful because within their minds they were not actually serious about preaching. His cult in foreign countries, they weren't. Okay. When he was present, he patronized the disciples to go outside India to preach the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but they were unsuccessful because within their minds they were not actually serious about preaching his cult in foreign countries. They simply wanted to take credit for having gone to foreign lands and utilize this recognition in India by advertising themselves as repatriated preachers. Many swamis have adopted this hypocritical means of preaching for the last 80 years or more, but no one could preach the real cult of Krishna consciousness all over the world. They merely came back to India falsely advertising that they had converted all the foreigners to the ideas of Vedanta or Krishna consciousness. And then they collected funds in India and lived satisfied lives of material comfort. As one fans paddy to separate the real paddy from the useless straw. By accepting the criterion recommended by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, one can very easily understand who is a genuine world preacher and who is useless. Achyutananda Borasaka Acharya Nandan Ajanma Seva Teho Chaitanya Charan. A big branch of Adwaita Acharya was his son Achyutananda. From the very beginning of his life, he engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. Chaitanya Gosar, Guru, Keshava Bharati, Epitara, Bhakyashuni, Dukkha, Paila, Ati. When Achyutananda heard from his father that Keshava Bharati was the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was very unhappy. Jagad Gurute Tumi Kora Aiche Upadesh Tomara E Upadeshe Nashta Hoila Desh. He told his father, your instruction that Keshava Bharati is the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will spoil the entire country. Choda Bhuvanera Guru Chaitanya Gosai Tara Guru Anya E Kon Shastrinai. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the spiritual master of the 14 worlds, but you say that someone else is his spiritual master. This is not supported by any revealed scripture. Panchama Varshara Balak Kohe Siddhanterasar Shunya Paila Charya Santosha Par. When Adwaita Acharya heard this statement from his 5-year-old son, Achyutananda, he felt great satisfaction because of his conclusive judgment. Krishna Mishra Nama Ar Acharya Tanoi Chaitanya Gosai Baishe Jahara Ridoy. Krishna Mishra was the son of Adwaita Acharya. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always sat in his heart. Sri Gopala Namayara Acharyara Sutta Tahara Charitra Shuna Atyanta Adbhuta. Sri Gopal was another son of Sri Adwaita Acharya Prabhu. Now just hear about his characteristics, for they are all very wonderful. As mentioned above, Sri Gopal was one of the 3 devoted sons of Adwaita Acharya. Gundicha Mandire Mahaprabhur Samukhe Kirtane Nartana Kore Bora Prema Sukhe. When Lord Chaitanya personally cleansed the Gundicha Mandir in Jagannath Puri, Gopal danced in front of the Lord with great love and happiness. Nana Bhavod Gama Dehe Adbhuta Nartan Dui Gosai Hari Bole Anandita Man. While Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Adwaita Prabhu chanted the Hare Krishna mantra and danced, there were various ecstatic symptoms in their bodies, and their minds were very pleased. Nachite Nachite Gopal Hoila Murchita Bhumete Padila Dehe Nahika Sambita. While all of them danced, Gopal, dancing and dancing, fainted and fell to the ground unconscious. Dukita Hoila Acharya Putra Kole Loya Raka Kore Nishingera Mantra Padiya. Adwaita Acharya Prabhu became very unhappy. Taking his son in his arms, he began to chant the Nishinga mantra for his protection. Nana mantra Padin Acharya Na Hoy Chaitan Acharyara Duke Vaishnava Korana Kradan. Adwaita Acharya chanted various mantras, but Gopal did not come to consciousness. Thus all the Vaishnavas present cried in sorrow at his plight. Tabe Mahaprabhu Tara Ridai Hastadori Utaha Gopala Hoila Bo Hari Hari. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then put his hand on the chest of Gopal and told him, "My dear Gopal, get up and chant the holy name of the Lord." Utila Gopala Prabhur Sparshadwani Shuni Anandito Hoyasabe Kore Haridwani. When he heard this sound and felt the touch of the Lord, Gopal immediately got up, and all the Vaishnavas chanted the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in jubilation. Acharya Araputra Sri Balaram Araputra Swarup Saka Jagadisha Nam. The other sons of Adwaita Acharya were Sri Balaram, Swarup, and Jagadish. Kamalakanta Vishwasnam Acharya Kingar Acharya Vyabhara Sab Tahara Gochar. Adwaita Acharya's very confidential servant named Kamalakanta Vishwas knew all the dealings of Adwaita Acharya. Nila Chaliteho Ek Patrika Likia Prataparudrer Pasha Dila Pataya. When Kamalakanta Vishwas was in Jagannath Puri, he sent a note through someone to Maharaj Prataparudra. Se patrira kata acharya nahi jane, kon pake se patri ila prabhustane. No one knew of that note, but somehow or other it reached the hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Se patrite leka Ache etalikan Ishwaratve acharjere korijache stapan. That note established Adwaita Acharya as an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kintu tara daivi kichu oyache rina shodhi bare chahi tanka shatatina. But it also mentioned that Adwaita Acharya had recently incurred a debt of about 300 rupees that Kamalakanta Vishwas wanted to liquidate. Patrapadiya Prabhur Mani Hoiladuk Bahire Hashiya Kichu Bole Chandramukh. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became unhappy upon reading the note, although his face still shone as brightly as the moon. Thus smiling, he spoke as follows. Acharjari stapi jache koriya ishwar, ite dosha nahi acharya daibata ishwar. He has established Adwaita Acharya as an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is nothing wrong in this, for he is indeed the Lord himself. Ishvarera doinya kori koriyache bika Ateva Dandakori Koraiba Shika. But he has made the incarnation of Godhead a poverty-stricken beggar. Therefore, I shall punish him in order to correct him. To describe a man as an incarnation of God or Narayan and at the same time present him as poverty-stricken is contradictory, and it is the greatest offense. The Mayavadi philosophers engage in the missionary work of spoiling the Vedic culture by preaching that everyone is God. The Mayavadi philosophers engaged in the missionary work of spoiling the Vedic culture by preaching that everyone is God describe a poverty-stricken man as Daridra Narayan or poor Narayan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never accepted such foolish and unauthorized ideas. He strictly warned, Mayavadi Bhashya Shunile Hoy Sarvanash. Anyone who follows the principles of Mayavad philosophy is certainly doomed. Such a fool needs to be reformed by punishment. Although it is contradictory to say that the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his incarnation is poverty-stricken, we find in the revealed scriptures that when the Lord incarnated as Vaman, he begged some land from Bali Maharaj. Everyone knows, however, that Vamanadev was not at all poverty-stricken. His begging from Maharaj Bali was a device to favor him. When Maharaj Bali actually gave the land, Vamanadev exhibited his all-powerful position by covering the three worlds with three steps. One should not accept the so-called Daridra Narayans as incarnations because they are completely unable to show the opulence of the genuine incarnations of God. Though this is the wrong philosophy. In India they say, the poor man in the street is actually Daridra Narayan. He's poor Narayan, but this is wrong philosophy. Govindera Adi-lila iha aji hoite molia vishvase etana dive asite. The Lord ordered Govinda, from today on, do not allow that Bolia Kamalakanta Vishwas to come here. The Lord ordered his servant Govinda, don't allow this Kamalakanta Vishwas to come here because he's spreading this wrong philosophy that Adwaita Acharya is a poverty-stricken incarnation of God. Dandashuni Vishva Shoila Parama Dukita Shunya Prabhura Danda Acharya Harshita. When Kamalakanta Vishwas heard about this punishment by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was very unhappy. But when Adwaita Prabhu heard about it, he was greatly pleased. Vishvasare kohetumi bora bhagyavan tomare korila danda Prabhu Bhagavan. Seeing Kamalakanta Vishwas unhappy, Adwaita Acharya Prabhu told him, you are greatly fortunate to have been punished by the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purve Mahaprabhu more korana saman dukapai mane ami koilun anuman. Formerly, Lord Chaitanya always respected me as his senior, but I did not like such respect. Therefore, my mind being afflicted by unhappiness, I made a plan. Mukti Shrestha Kori Koinu Vashishta Vyakyan Kruda Hoya Prabhu More Koila Apaman. Thus I expounded the Yoga Vashishta, which considers liberation the ultimate goal of life. For this, the Lord became angry at me and treated me with apparent disrespect. Dandapaya Hoila Mora Paramananda Jaydanda Paila Bhagyavan Sri Mukunda. When chastised by Lord Chaitanya, I was very happy to receive a punishment similar to that awarded Sri Mukunda. Sri Mukunda, a great friend and associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, used to visit many places where people were against the Vaishnava cult. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to know of this, he punished Mukunda, forbidding him to see him again. Although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was soft like a flower, he was also strict like a thunderbolt. And everyone was afraid to allow Mukunda to come again into the presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mukunda, therefore, being very sorry, asked his friends whether he would one day be allowed to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When the devotees brought this inquiry to Lord Chaitanya, the Lord replied, Mukunda will get permission to see me after many millions of years. When they gave this information to Mukunda, he danced with jubilation. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard that Mukunda was so patiently waiting to meet him after millions of years, he immediately asked him to return. There is a statement about this punishment of Mukunda in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Kanda, 10th chapter. Jetanda Paila Sri Sachi Bhagavati Sedanda Prashada Anya Loka Pabikati. A similar punishment was awarded to Mother Sachi Devi. Who could be more fortunate than she to receive such punishment? Mother Sachi Devi was similarly punished as mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Mother Sachi Devi, apparently showing her feminine nature, accused Adwaita Prabhu of encouraging her son to become a sannyasi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, taking the accusation as an offense, asked Sachi Devi to touch the lotus feet of Adwaita Acharya to mitigate the offense she had supposedly committed. So when Mahaprabhu was showing his divine form to everyone, he asked him about Mother Sachi, and Mahaprabhu said, she cannot come to see me because she's an offender. So everyone was stunned. Mother Sachi's an offender? And he said, yes. When Vishwarup took sannyas, she blamed Adwaita Acharya. So that's an offense. When Adwaita Acharya heard that, he fainted. And then Mahaprabhu told Mother Sachi, now is your chance. Go take the his foot dust, and put it on your head. Then you'll be relieved of that offense. And she did that. And then Mahaprabhu was happy with her again. Itakohe Acharya Tare Korea Ashvas Anandito Hoya Aila Mahaprabhupash. After pacifying Kamalakanta Vishwas in this way, Sri Adwaita Acharya Prabhu went to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhu ke kohen tomar na buji Adi-lila amahoite prasada patra korila kamala. Sri Adwaita Acharya told Mahaprabhu, I cannot understand your transcendental pastimes. You have shown more favor to Kamalakanta than you generally show to me. Amare hakabu Jaina hoy prasad tomara charanayami ki koinu aparad. The favor you have shown Kamalakanta is so great that even to me you have never shown such favor. What offense have I committed at your lotus feet so as not to be shown such favor? This is a reference to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's former punishment of Adwaita Acharya. When Adwaita Acharya Prabhu was reading Yoga Vashishta, Lord Chaitanya beat him, but he never told him not to come into his presence. But Kamalakanta was punished with the order never to come into the Lord's presence. Therefore, Sri Adwaita Acharya Prabhu wanted to impress upon Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he had shown more favor to Kamalakanta Vishwas because he had prohibited Kamalakanta from seeing him, whereas he had not done so to Adwaita Acharya. Therefore, the favor shown Kamalakanta Vishwas was greater than that shown Adwaita Acharya. Eta Shuni Mahaprabhu Hashite Lagila Bolaya Kamalakante Prasana Hoila. Hearing this, Lord Chaitanya laughed with satisfaction and immediately called Kamalakanta Vishwas. Acharya Kohe Ihake Keni Dila Darshan Dui Prakarete Kore Mori Vidamban. Adwaita Acharya then said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why have you called back this man and allowed him to see you? He has cheated me in two ways. Shunya Prabhurmana Prasana Hoila Duharantara Kata Duhe Sejanila. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this, his mind was satisfied. Only they could understand each other's minds. Prabhu Kohe Bolia Aiche Kohe Kora Acharya Laja Dharma Hani Se Acharya. Mahaprabhu instructed Kamalakanta, you are a Bolia. Let's see what it says about Bolia. Bolia, one who does not know what is right. Lord Chaitanya instructed Kamalakansha, you are a Bolia, one who does not know things as they are. Why do you act in this way? Why do you invade the privacy of Adwaita Acharya and damage his religious principles? Kamalakanta Vishwas, out of his ignorance, asked the king of Jagannath Puri, Maharaj Prataparuja, to liquidate the 300 rupee debt of Adwaita Acharya, but at the same time he established Adwaita Acharya as an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is contradictory, as an incarnation of the Supreme Godhead cannot be indebted to anyone in this material world. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is never satisfied by such a contradiction, which is technically called rasabhas, or overlapping of one humor or rasa with another. This is the same type of idea as the contradiction that Narayan is poverty-stricken, Daridra Narayan. As Narayan's the husband, the goddess of fortune. She's always serving him. How can he be poverty-stricken if the goddess of fortune is his wife? The goddess of fortune in this material world is known as Chanchala. She doesn't remain with anybody, but she does remain with her husband, Narayan. So the idea of Daridra Narayan, that the Lord is poverty-stricken, is contradictory. Pratigraha kabuna korive rajadan bishayira anakaile dushta hoiman. Adwaita Acharya, my spiritual master, should never accept charity from rich men or kings, because if a spiritual master accepts money or grains from such materialists, his mind becomes polluted. It is very risky to accept money or food from materialistic persons, for such acceptance pollutes the mind of the charity's recipient. According to the Vedic system, one should give charity to sannyasis and Brahmins, because one who thus gives charity becomes free from sinful activities. Formerly, therefore, Brahmins would not accept charity from a person unless he was very pious. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this instruction for all spiritual masters. Materialistic persons who are not inclined to give up their sinful activities like illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating sometimes want to become our disciples, but unlike professional spiritual masters who accept disciples regardless of their condition, Vaishnavas do not accept such cheap disciples. One must at least agree to abide by the rules and regulations for a disciple before a Vaishnavacharya can accept him. In fact, a Vaishnava should not even accept charity or food from persons who do not follow the rules and regulations of the Vaishnava principles. Manadushta hoile nahe Krishnara smaran, Krishna smriti binu hoy, Nishvala Jiban. When one's mind is polluted, it is very difficult to remember Krishna. And when remembrance of Lord Krishna is hampered, one's life is unproductive. Loka Laja Hoy Dharma Kirti Hoy Hani Aiche Karma Na Korea Kabuna Jana Na Lokalaja hoy dharma kirti hoy hani aiche karma na korea kabu ihajani. Thus one becomes unpopular in the eyes of the people in general, for this damages his religiosity and fame. A Vaishnava, especially one who acts as a spiritual master, must not act in such a way. One should always be conscious of this fact. When one's mind is polluted, it is very difficult to remember Krishna. And when remembrance of Lord Krishna is hampered, one's life is unproductive. Thus one becomes unpopular in the eyes of the people in general, for this damages one's religiosity and fame. A Vaishnava, especially one who acts as a spiritual master, must not act in such a way. One should always be conscious of this fact. It's accepting charity from a materialistic person, especially foodstuffs. Eshika sabakore sabe mane koila, Acharya gosai mane ananda paila. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this instruction to Kamalakanta, all present considered it to be meant for everyone. Thus Adwaita Acharya was greatly pleased. Acharya Abhipraya Prabhu Matra Bhuje Prabhura Gambhira Bhakya Acharya Samuje. Only Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand the intentions of Adwaita Acharya, and Adwaita Acharya appreciated the grave instructions of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Eta prastavayache bahuta vichar granta bahuya baye nare likibar. In this statement there are many confidential considerations. I do not write of them all, fearing an unnecessary increase in the volume of the book. The book was Chaitanya Charitamrita was going to become very
voluminous.
Yeah, very voluminous. So I'm going to stop here for today. And then I'll sing Hari Haraya, and tomorrow I'll finish this. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Mananaman Giridhari Gopinatha Mananaman Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Adwaita Chandra Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Adwaita Chandra Gadadhar Seva Sari Gora Bhaktivedanta Gadadhar Seva Sari Gora Bhaktivedanta Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath Sri Shiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sri Shiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Echai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Echai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jawaite Vignana Shabishta Puran Jawaite Vignana Shabishta Puran Echai Gosai Jarmui Taradas Echai Gosai Jarmui Taradas Tasavara Para Renu Mora Panchagras Tasavar Para Renu Mora Panchagras Kader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Radhe Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas Janame Janame More Abilas Janame Janame More Abilas Echai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Echai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash Hare Nam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamodas Hare Nam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamodas Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Jai Saparikara Shri Shri Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmam Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajaka Acharya Tara Sadar Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajaka Acharya Tara Sadar Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Rakshidhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Rupanuka Guru Bharga Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Chiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Prem Se Go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Adwaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai Vishvavaranya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupad Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Bhakti Kushamashra Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Tilak Niraya Maharaj Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Navadip Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Ki Jai Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai Shri Kuladvip Ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram Ki Jai Ganga Devi Ki Jai Tulasi Manrani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Sham Kuna Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Ju Ki Jai Shri Purushottam ki jai, Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Jiu ki jai, Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya, Shina Shingadev ki jai, Bhakta Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Kartik Brata ki jai, Shri Damodar Brata ki jai, Shri Niyama Seva ki jai, Shri Urja Brata ki jai, all the assembled devotees ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.